Today's video is again on that mid to high-end smartphone category. We've recently done a review on the Xiaomi 14T Pro, which we absolutely loved and had a ton of the high-end performances without a lot of compromises. And generally this category is perfect for those who are just that little bit price conscious, have a really good budget, so around say £700, dollars or euros, but they don't want to spend the £1,000 or the €1,000 or the $1,000 because they don't need the best camera with the best screen, with the most RAM, with the most, they don't need all of that. So today's video is on something quite interesting actually. It's the S24 FE. Now we all know what happened with last year's S23 FE. In fact, we really liked it. We just had an issue with some of the design choices. The S24 FE sits in that sub $700 category and it has a lot of premium specs. Again, very similar to the Xiaomi 14T Pro. But the question is, most people will buy this device because they don't want to spend that top end money. But the question overall that we always ask is it any good? Let's find out. So let's talk about what powers the S24 FE, and lo and behold, yes, you guessed it, is the often derided Exynos. In fact, it's the Exynos 2400E. Now, before you switch off and think, I don't want nothing to do with Exynos processors in my next Samsung phone, hold your horses. In fact, the 2400E performs very, very well. Actually, it doesn't sit too far away from your normal Snapdragon processor. When it comes to things like GPU and CPU, we've run a benchmark here to kind of give you an indication of what those results look like. And actually, they're pretty good. Don't forget, you're not going to get high-end performance of something like an 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy or an 18 Pro or something like the recently announced 9400 Dimensity by MediaTek processor. Those are not going to live in something like this because the price point doesn't dictate it. What you're going to get here is a processor that performs very well for what it's intended to be used for. And then let's talk about real world circumstances. Let's shoot straight across and look at things like browsing. So you get a dynamic 2x AMOLED display, 120 Hz LTPO panel. So what that means, you'll go down from 1 all the way up to 120 Hz. Now when you're browsing the web or just doing what you normally do or most people use their phones for, it actually functions very, very well. It's super smooth. And I gotta say the display on Samsung devices are the best. And it's not even close. I know there's some contention around brightness and overall color, etc. But for me personally, just having it in hand and using it to display is incredible. And the performance in terms of browsing and all the day-to-day general uses are excellent. If we move across to things like OS, again, runs very, very well. Everyone knows what One UI looked like, but now if you've got the latest One UI, you'll actually see a dedicated section for AI. And let's move across and talk to you about AI and generative AI. Now, essentially, this is no great shakes. This is not going to change your life in any single way. But what it will do is offer you a lot of the features that people are enjoying. So things like being able to generate images and backgrounds of any chosen subject, whichever you fancy. Go into the wallpaper app and then you just change what you want to change and type in whatever you want to type. And that will then give you a set image, whatever that may look like, and whatever you type in. We move away from that and let's just talk about a selfie that I've taken and how you can actually use AI to amend this. So you can have this in cartoon, sketch, various modes to whatever you fancy. And again, it's on device and it switches up. As a whole though, as you can see in the settings, there's a ton of options when it comes to AI, things like call assist, to his photos, how it summarizes text, images. There's a lot of options here. So to see that built in to the S24 FE is sick. And whilst we're talking about software quickly, 7 years of software updates on the S24 FE. So that gives you an indication of how much they trust the processor and how much that 2400E Exynos processor will actually have the longevity of, say, a higher end processor. So let's focus on the rear. One of the points that most people would look at when they're looking to buy their next smartphone, especially in that category, would be its cameras. And let's touch on the spec of those cameras. You get a 50 megapixel wide, 8 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide, which the system itself can record 8K 30 FPS interesting. And in the front, you get a 10 megapixel camera with 4K 30 at its top end. And then let's talk about performance of those cameras especially. So let's shoot straight across and talk about video. Production in terms of 8K 30 looks very good. In fact, you're probably not going to be able to appreciate it fully because this is not an 8K video, and then the video itself, it's downsampled to fit a 4K image in which this video is shot. But quality is very, very good. In fact, video as a whole is classic Samsung. It just looks really nice, clean, simple. It's not overly detailed. It is slightly brighter, slightly more saturated, but again, it's not an insanely high production quality video output. But then when we move across things like photos, again, classic Samsung, it performs very well. Let's just put it that way. It's not going to blow you away. It's not going to make you angry. But if you're just looking to capture photos of friends, family, different environments, holidays, time away, you are not obsessed with sort of like the cleanest possible photo, but you look for just a good quality photo, the S24 FE will do more than enough in terms of its processing and how it handles images, etc., as well as videos, as we mentioned. And in general, as a whole, the whole camera system is actually quite good. The only downside is that this camera system is actually the same as last year's S23 FE. There's no really great, big, huge development or deviation. Fundamentally, I think there's not much difference at all. So that evolution in terms of specification hasn't really changed. What you probably find has changed is the way that it uses computational photography and machine learning powered by its cameras and processing its OS to allow it to create, I guess, to do a bit more work in the background to allow your images to look much better than maybe what it captures on the actual cameras itself. But overall though, the S24 FE cameras are very good. So what's our conclusion on the S24 FE? Before we get to the goods and the bads, let's talk about the design, fit, feel and finish. And yes, it is plastic, but it is a very well built, good looking smartphone. And some of the colors, crushed it. This mint green actually looks amazing. There's a blue, like a very shade light blue, white, a charcoal, and then I believe there's a yellow as well. I think I think pretty much those are all the color profiles. And they have improved the bezels compared to S23 FE. And last year there was a lot more of a chunkier bezel. Like for some reason you got like on an A series, but this year it's a lot more streamlined. It's nice to hold. It is a bigger phone. It is squared off. It is a bit edgy on the hands, but overall it's really nice. So let's quickly look at the goods and the bads. So the good points: screen, amazing. Camera quality, this is a double-edged sword, is good. However, we'll quickly nudge on the bad of that bit as well. There should have been improvements for the entire 4 cameras, 3 on the back, 1 on the front, but there have been no real changes, no deviations, nothing. This is still the same camera system from a few years ago, especially the same as the S23 FE from last year, which is a shame. Display, excellent, can't fault it. Design, very, very nice, feels great. Probably one of our bigger issues I would say is, could this have been a smaller phone? Could this have been, instead of a 6.7 inch, could this have been a 6.4 inch? To kind of just separate it a little bit to make it a bit more manageable, because again, there's another Samsung phone that's another big phone. You have in the A series, you have tons in the S series. There's even rumors of the S26 doing away with a smaller S26. I know we haven't got S25, but yeah, I mean, for someone who doesn't have massive hand size, I can hold it reasonably comfortably, I can navigate it, but when you want to stretch from down to top, it can be a little bit dodgy. But overall though, we love the S24 FE. Great performance, great battery life, tons of great specs. Yes, there are improvements that could have been made 100%. There is no such thing as a perfect phone. However though, a lot of what's changing here has made it an incredibly desirable purchase. There's so many incentives right now. Here in the UK, if you were to buy an S24 FE, it's $649 online standard cost, there are trade-in offers, etc. But then on top of that, you can actually get a free Samsung Watch FE. As of time of this video, that is a promotion. That's a £150, £200 watch for free. Gets you into the ecosystem, which is sick, but then also means you're getting more bang for your buck. So instead of paying £800, you're paying $650, and you've got a smartwatch which can track all your health data, etc. And you've got one of the latest Samsung smartphones. And that's 7 years of software update. I can't tell you how sick that is. Even if you didn't use the phone for 7 years, the fact that it can support 7 years of software updates is amazing. And that's our review of the Samsung S24 FE. Thank you so much for watching. Till the next one, as always, we out.